Golden State Media Concepts Sci-Fi Podcast. Together we dive into the world of sci-fi and science fiction. From episodes of Star Trek, Star Wars, to The Walking Dead, Resident Evil, all the hot new science fiction movies from the backdoors of Marvel or DC. The Golden State Media Concepts Sci-Fi Podcast. You'll never look at science fiction the same way again.
Hello everybody, this is Jay bringing you some more really cool, exciting sci-fi news. So, Matt Groening is a name that I think should be pretty well known by this point. You know, he's done The Simpsons, God, literally forever. It's been on for, I want to say, like 30-something years now and counting and going strong. I don't believe it's going to be canceled anytime soon. Now, I'm one of those fans where, okay, I liked Simpsons for a while. Do I watch it anymore? Not really, no. I don't even really watch the Treehouse of Horrors anymore. I just haven't for a very, very long time. Now, he did a show, well, he was, like, around the time he was doing the show came out called Futurama, which I really, really, really liked, by the way. I think it's a great show. I own all 4 seasons. I own all 4, movies. And I own all 4 seasons on Comedy Central. So, of course, like most fans, when this show got canceled the first time, I was like, well, dang it, I really liked that show. When they did the 4 movies, like, this is awesome. It's great to see these characters all in action again and kind of see them go on new adventures. And then when I heard it was going to Comedy Central, like many fans, I was very, very excited. But sadly, for some reason, this is just a show that just doesn't seem to last more than 4 seasons in most places. And eventually on the 4th season on Comedy Central, it got canceled again. So this show has been canceled not once, not twice, but 3 times now. And like I said, Matt Groening has been doing The Simpsons for like 30-something seasons now, and I don't think it's going anywhere in the near future. I don't think anyway. I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem that way. He also did the Life is Hell comic series, which there are a number of different books out for that. I've read them in the past when I was younger. And a while ago, he announced a new show he is doing called Disenchantment. Now, remember, The Simpsons takes place in pretty much in modern times. Futurama took place in the past. So, as one of the first teasers for the show said, naturally, let's go to the past next. Why not? That sounds like a great idea. So this show basically focuses on, takes everybody to the Kingdom of Dreamland, where, there's magic and magical creatures, and Princess Bean is the main character. She's kind of a hard-drinking, princess who doesn't really want to, get married and be a princess. She wants to be more than that, so she's not your average princess right off the bat. She has a friend named Elfo, who is an elf, who, is kind of an outcast, a misfit, probably a better term. And then there's Lucy, which is just a little demon. And these are the 3 main friends of this show, and they go on all kinds of crazy adventures in Dreamland. It reminds me, it's very reminiscent of Futurama in the sense where, the characters aren't perfect, the world is kind of imperfect, there's some crazy things going on in it, and there's a lot of really good medieval humor here. There's good jabs at Game of Thrones, there's some good jabs at, like, the Lord of the Rings. I was very excited when I heard this show was coming out, and I was lucky to get to watch the first 7 episodes and eventually the whole season. And I really, really liked this show. I can't say it was perfect. It had a few little bumps along the way, but overall, I really, really liked this show. And how the season ended was very, very interesting, and it left me very curious, okay, where is this show going to go next? Now, until recently, all we knew was that, okay, we have, season 1, which is 10 episodes, and season 2, which is 10 episodes, and that's it. That's all we knew so far. Now, luckily, we got news recently that changes all that. So, And this had only about like a week or so ago, so this is still kind of fresh news. And being that I'm a fan of this show, I decided to bring it on here for you. Is Disenchantment is now actually already been renewed for technically 3 more seasons. So that means there's the first season, the first 10 episodes that are already on Netflix. There's going to be a season 2 of 10 more episodes next year on Netflix. There's also now going to be a season 3 in 2020, and then a season 4 in 2021. Now, I don't know about you, but I heard this and I'm like, wonderful. That's a really good sign for a show. I think this has happened to a number of cartoon shows recently. Examples are Rapunzel, Tangled the series is one example where, the show got picked up for a second season before its first season already even aired. Big Hero 6, the series, I believe the same thing happened. It got picked up for a second season before the first season even aired. DuckTales has had this happen twice where it got a 2-season order before season 1 even aired, and now it's already gotten a season 3 order before season 2 technically aired. So this isn't uncommon for cartoon shows lately, especially for like streaming services like Netflix. They usually like to be pretty quick about, okay, hey, there is going to be another season, so that fans know that, hey, this show isn't gone. It's still going on strong, right? And I have heard mixed things about this show. I've heard some people really like it. Some people aren't as big of fans about it. But like I said, I really enjoyed this show. When I heard this news, I was like, that's really, really cool news. Now, it's going to be like a season a year pretty much. So there's going to be a little wait between seasons. There has, of course, been no release date of when in those years. Just, 2019 sometime, we're going to get a season 2. 2020 sometime, we're going to get a season 3. And 2021 sometime, we're going to get a season 4. They're all going to be on Netflix. Matt Groening is going to be behind them all. As we saw in the first season, he brings back like John DiMaggio and like Billy West and some other characters, voice, supporting characters in this show. I would imagine all the other, voice actors would come back for the next season. And yeah, this is, I think, like a good sign for this show. And I'm really excited for this because I don't like, sometimes with these shows, 1-2 seasons isn't always enough. It just isn't. And it looks like since this is something that hasn't really been done before, I think it's totally possible, and it makes sense to do more seasons because you know what? There's so much to tell in this world, like this world of magic, this world of mystery, this this ragtag group of misfits, has definitely more adventures to go on. If you've watched season 1, you know exactly what I mean because how that ends, you're like, man, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen to Bean next, for that matter? I mean, I am going to spoil it because it's been out for a while. So if you haven't watched it, covering your ears now is a great time. But so what basically happens is Elfo somehow dies. Bean's mom that was turned into a statue because she was supposedly poisoned. Poison was actually meant for her father, and he was supposed to be turned into a statue. So Bean brings her mom back. Her mom creates all kind of havoc and turns most of the people of Dreamland to stone, at least at the castle. And then she goes away with her mom, on this ship of strange-looking creatures to we're not really sure where. I think she said some new land. So we're gonna go. That's how the season 1 ended, and that's probably how season 2 is gonna start. So is Elfo gonna come back? We're not really sure. Lucy is still there with the king, who's one of the few people, at least in the castle, who are not turned to stone. He loses his crown, so he's kind of peeved about that. And I think he still thinks Lucy is a cat. I don't think any of them realize that, hey, Lucy is a demon. Even though there were episodes where, Lucy possessed people. I want to say even at one point Bean might have been possessed, but somehow still, it's a really cool looking cat. Sure, it's a cat, if you say so. And just of how season 1 went down, I'm very curious. I want to know more. I definitely want to know when season 2 is coming out. Sooner than later would be great, but we'll see. I'm sure they're in the process of making this now, and for all I know, they may be in the process of making all the seasons right now, for all I know, because I think that as far as I know, recording takes a while anyway. So yeah, so this is some really, really big Disenchantment news. It means that, we're getting double the seasons we thought we were going to get. This is almost as cool as when we got the news that, hey, Castlevania was getting a season 2. And now, and this is just rumor at this point, so don't quote me on this yet, but there's been rumblings there may be a season 3 for Castlevania as well, which, if so, I really, really hope so. But I am looking forward to more seasons of this show. I definitely want to see what's going to happen next. And yeah, I think this is really, really great news. So I just had to bring this here. And not much is known really at this point, except that, hey, they're doing it. So again, when more gets known about the next season and what's going to happen next, I will gladly bring it here to all of you. You can bet on that. So we're going to take ourselves a short little break right now, and we'll be back in a few moments with more sci-fi news.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Hello everybody, this is Jay bringing more sci-fi news for you. So, again with being a little close to Halloween, I decided to bring another Halloween episode of a show that I like to this podcast, to this episode. And this is a show that I don't know if you could necessarily say it's sci-fi, but I think it's fair because there's a lot of sci-fi elements in there, right? So, and it's another show that oddly enough, I resisted at first, and this is a show I'm a little behind on, but this is a show I resisted at first. It's the Goldbergs. I actually got to meet Adam Goldberg, interview him, Wendy McLendon, Kevin Smith, who's directed a few episodes of this, and it's a show that basically takes place in the 1980s, so there's, of course, a huge amount of 1980s nostalgia in this show. There really is. They had an episode where Weird Al came in, all, 80s Weird Al, which was really, really cool. They've had some really cool 80s guest stars thrown in there. They really have. And it basically, I think it follows, or it's loosely based on Adam Goldberg's life. When he was a kid, he did a lot of home movies and recordings of his family, and so it's kind of based on the show itself. Now, mind you, he doesn't have a sister Erica. He has a brother Eric. He told me that when I met him a few years ago at WonderCon. And this is a show that, I didn't want to watch it first. I tried to resist it first. Again, I had like a sister or two who was like, this show is really awesome. It's really great. You'd love it. You have to check it out for whatever weird reason. Again, I was like, I resist. I refuse to watch this show. And then I finally sat down and watched it. I'm like, why did I resist to watch this show? This is a really cool show. This is a really awesome show. And so something this show has done for, I want to say at least a few seasons now, is they like to do either like they like to do Halloween episodes. That's something they really enjoy doing. And they've done before some like shows based on movies at the time. They did one on the Karate Kid. They did one on Batman. They've done a number of them over the years. This show, I think, is on its 5th or 6th season right now. I believe it's on its 5th season. And this show got an order for at least one more season after this one. So it's another really popular show. It's a show on ABC. And so I decided to talk about an episode that I think was really cool in concept. And it brings Robert Englund to the mix. And this show is called Mr. Knifey Hands. So it's a Halloween episode. At this point, Erica's off in college. Actually, I think she might have dropped out at this point. Like I said, I'm a little behind, but I think that came up on there. And, Adam is older. He's like a junior or senior at this point. I want to say he's around there, junior or senior. And we actually, at least on this episode, because I don't remember in the past if we got to see Jackie's family, which Jackie is the girl that it's his girlfriend now. She's very similar to him in, nerdy interests and things like that. Last season, she was portrayed by Rowan Blanchard, and for some reason, I noticed watching this episode, again, I'm a little behind, she's not Jackie anymore. It's someone else, which I thought was a little weird, a little strange, but moving on. And So what this episode has to do with is, of course, Beverly Goldberg still thinks that Adam is her, little baby, even though he's almost a man at this point, right? And they go to I don't think it was Blockbuster, but it was something Blockbuster-like to rent movies, and Jackie's with them. And she says, let's just we'll just rent, my parents will have us rent Nightmare on Elm Street, which he's never seen before. And, his mom, of course, no, it's too scary. You'll have nightmares, and she goes, nah, you'll be fine. We'll watch it. And Adam Goldberg's like, you know what? You're right. I will be fine. I'm going to be okay. I'll watch this and I'll have no problems. And of course, surprise, surprise, it freaks him out. He's scared by it. And he does have a few nightmares as the episode progresses. He gets so freaked out, he actually just starts drinking I think it's Jolt Cola or Volt Cola. He drinks that and he doesn't sleep for days and days because he knows he's going to have Freddy Krueger nightmares. And what this episode brings in is that Beverly is really mad that Jackie's parents let Adam watch this movie. How dare they? And if that's not bad enough, though, it goes deeper to where Jackie's dad actually shows him Fangoria. And he gets to see, how the movie was made and that, hey, Freddy is really just an actor. And it actually kind of helps him get over, his fear and stop having dreams, stop having nightmares, right? And this is what really peeves Beverly. She's like, how dare you, make my kid better? That's impossible. I'm his mom. Only I can make him better. So it actually causes a little feud between Adam's parents and Jackie's parents. So a chunk of the episode, that is going on. Where because his dad doesn't like that Jackie's dad, he thinks they're just kind of hippies and he doesn't like that. He and at the same time, Jackie's parents don't like how they are. They're too constricting, they're too strict, and and they want to do things a certain way where Jackie's parents are a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more chilled out about things. So there's some good moments, of trying to get the two of them apart from each other and trying to work things out. They're trying to, rip Adam and Jackie apart. And of course, that's not going to happen, but they think it's going to happen. There's actually a really cool scene in this episode that I really liked where Beverly tries to watch the movie and she actually kind of has a nightmare about Freddy, but it doesn't go the way Freddy plans, and it was really kind of cool to see, Robert Englund in the Freddy, costume again and in the mask. And there's moments where he goes, ooh, this is kind of not what I'm used to. I need to leave. This is not for me. So it was kind of funny to see, him kind of get flipped for lid where he's like, whoa, what's going on here? But, why are you not scared of me? Why are you not all freaked out? What's happening? I don't understand. And at the same, there's also another story going on in this episode where Jeff, which is Erica's boyfriend, really wants to do some kind of couples costume, and she doesn't want to do that anymore because she just doesn't think it's necessary, and he wants to be Oates, and he's gonna have her be Halls, but it's a box of Halls, and he's Quaker Oats, and so there's that going on, and then there's a moment where she comes to high school and realizes, hey, she's this big person on campus, people think she's so cool because, hey, you went to high school and you seem all grown up, and this is really awesome. So there's that subplot going on at the same time. And as the episode is progressing, she finds out, hey, maybe things are going on here that I'm not okay with in my life, and her and Jeff kind of get stronger. They almost break up, but they work things out. And it was a really cool episode, I think. I need to catch up on this season. I'm not too far behind. I think I'm a little bit behind from last season too, so I have a little bit catching up to do, but yeah, it was another really good Halloween episode. It was, like I said, it was really cool to see Robert Englund come back and do this role again. I think I had heard him say in an interview or something that he would be okay doing another Freddy Krueger movie. Now, should they do another one? I don't know. I wouldn't say, yes, do another Freddy Krueger movie, because honestly, I haven't really watched any. The only one I watched was Freddy vs. Jason. That is the only thing with Freddy Krueger and I've really watched, and of course, besides this episode now. But yeah, it's a good Halloween episode. It's a fun one. There's some cool moments there. It's got a really nice ending, as most of these episodes do. And it's a little weird that they recast Jackie. I really like Rowan Blanchard, but the person who is Jackie now, I won't say she's bad either. I won't. It just was. I guess I didn't expect it. I was watching it. I was like, oh wow, that's Jackie now. That's because I remember seeing pictures going, what happened to Jackie? Did Jackie and Adam break up like he did with Megan. I'm like, man, I hope the heck not, because that would kind of suck. But that's not what happened. So, yeah, this is available now. Like I said, you can watch this on demand, and I believe you can watch it on, ABC Go, I think is the website, so you can watch these episodes on there, and I would personally highly recommend it. So, yeah, I thought it was another really good, really funny Halloween episode. So we're going to take ourselves another short little break, and we will be back with more sci-fi news in a moment.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hello there, everybody. This is Jay coming back with some more sci-fi news. So, the last bit of news I have for you tonight, and I've talked about the first few episodes of this show, and I said I'd probably talk about future episodes, so that's exactly what I'm doing. And if you've listened to this podcast since I've been doing it all, you know that I am a pretty big Star Wars fan. I really am. And I'm actually going to probably jump into 3 bit of Star Wars news, but I'm going to get into the main one first, which is... So, I watched another episode of Star Wars Resistance, and it's the 3rd episode. I think there's only been like a total of 5 or 6 episodes so far, so not a whole lot of episodes. And so, this episode that I'm going to talk to you about is called Fuel for the Fire. So, what's happening on this episode is... I guess Kaz, in a nutshell, is working for this team, and, he's being worked too hard, and he feels like life is too tough, and he doesn't ever get to go on breaks or have fun or really anything like that. He just feels like it's just work, 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 and more work. He's never doing anything right. He just, he doesn't know what he's doing, and so he's kind of like, a little tired of working for Yeager. And along comes a new team. Rucklin, who has a new little team, and he starts hanging out with them a little bit. He starts talking to them. He seems to get along better with them. He thinks Rucklin is a really cool, great guy. Rucklin is voiced by Elijah Wood, by the way, on this episode. And so it seems like, Kaz is thinking of leaving Yeager's team and working for this team because they have more fun. They seem to have a better time. They seem to make more money. He's making his own racers, so he thinks it's really cool that, hey, you're doing that. It looks really cool, and I'd love to help out with that. But, of course, in normal style of this show so far, Rucklin doesn't seem to be who he appears to be in the beginning. And he tries to pressure Kaz to take some rare hyperfuel that's hidden in Yeager's office. So... he's dealing with that quandary. He's like, I guess, are we really going to do this? And they try to sneak into his office they've never really been in before. In the process, Kaz does learn 1 or 2 things about Yeager that he didn't know, which was kind of interesting. And, of course, the hyperfuel gets taken, not to his knowledge. And as the episode comes to a close, the guy tries to, Rucklin tries to put it into his ship, and he thinks he's going to give him an edge in the next race. Really what it does is almost make frickin' the thing blow up. And even though Kaz saves Rucklin's life, Rucklin isn't really that grateful about it. So he may have actually made a new enemy instead of an ally like he originally thought. And again, with this show, I don't know. I'm still not that impressed with it. I mean, the animation's looking a little bit better, but I still just can't stand how like the faces look. They look really weird and strangely drawn. And again, maybe it's just because, with Star Wars: The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, it was 3D animation, and it just seems like I'm not really like rooting for the characters much yet. I don't really feel much for the characters yet, and I guess just most of the characters aren't really that strong. Kaz isn't that strong of a character so far. Yeager and his team are kind of all right, but not superbly strong either. And I'm still not going to write this show off, but I'm just losing interest. I'm just like, it's just not that amazing of a show so far. It just really isn't. I mean, yeah, it's got Gwendolyn Christie coming in as Captain Phasma a bit here or there. Oscar Isaacs came in on the pilot, so yeah, there's those cool little cameos there, but I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just like, I just don't really, care about it much. Not really. I'm not that impressed with it, like where with previous shows, I'm definitely have been impressed with it. So 2 other things of Star Wars news I'm going to bring up really quick. One that's good news and makes sense. And, there's really just one more then, I guess. So, Disney owns Lucasfilm now, and they had a big plan of all these different movies. They've done episodes 7 and 8. They're gonna do 9. They did Rogue One. They did Solo. They had a number of other solo projects planned as far as basing on one character. And one of those films that were planned was they were going to do a Boba Fett movie, which when I heard that, I'm like, I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't know if they should do that. I don't know if it's going to go over well. And so there was news that came out just recently that the movie has been canceled. Some fans are probably bummed with it. Some fans are like, man, that's a shame. Me, I'm not one of those fans. No, I'm like, good. I'm glad it was canceled because it probably wasn't going to do as well as they thought it would. And that's just the reality. He's like Boba Fett is not a bad character. He's actually a really strong character. And as far as I've heard in the books, there's a lot that goes on there after Return of the Jedi, right? Right. But at the same time, it's like, would it be possible to make a whole movie on it? And what has to be remembered as well, Disney is starting to back off a little bit from all their, proposed projects because it turns out that Solo didn't do as well as I hoped it would. Like I've talked on here in the past, I didn't have a problem with Solo. I thought Solo was a good movie, but it just didn't hit the numbers I guess Disney hoped it would. I think Disney, if you're going to do a standalone movie, do one of Obi-Wan. I think that would be great. I think it would go really, really well. Now, at the same time, this Boba Fett news isn't the end of the world for 2 reasons. One, we are getting Mandalorian. We're getting that. So that's going to be really cool. It's going to be a live-action show that's going to be on the Disney streaming service. Jon Favreau is directing it. So, we don't get Boba Fett, but we still do get Mandalorians. And it may be a new Mandalorian. It may be a Mandalorian we've never seen before. Or maybe it is a Mandalorian we've seen before. Again, not a whole lot is known about this show. But it's not the end of the world that this Boba Fett movie isn't happening. It doesn't mean, that, no more Mandalorian anything. No, it doesn't mean that. And at the same time, remember that we are also going to be getting... there's another season of Clone Wars coming, which, again, it's a show I need to watch. I haven't had a chance to sit down and do it, but I've heard good things about it. So we are getting another season of that. So, and there's still, I believe, to my knowledge, other Star Wars projects are still happening. Like, I believe 2 of the writers of Game of Thrones are still doing their trilogy. I'm not sure if Rian Johnson is still doing his trilogy. I don't know about that. And so there's still Star Wars stuff coming. I don't think they pumped the brakes entirely. This kind of going, okay, yes to this, no to that, yes to this, no to that. That's what's happening. And I don't think that's a bad idea because they started strong with their standalone films. I mean, Rogue One surprised me. Absolutely. I was like, man, they're going to do a movie about, one little event and that's it. And I didn't have hopes for it, but it did really, really well. I thought it was an amazing movie. So it's not they've had their ups and downs, but most of the time it's been ups. Now, if you've listened on here before, I still think Last Jedi was very disappointing, but you know what? That was just me. A number of fans were in that same boat. But so as far as it goes to that, that's really the Star Wars news we have right now. Again, when we learn more about Mandalorian, I'm definitely going to bring it on here. And I don't even think there's a release date yet. It's just going to come to the Disney streaming service sometime in the near future. And like I said, I'm not writing off Star Wars Resistance yet, but I think I am sadly getting close because I'm just not that impressed with it. I mean, it's just it's strange because like Dave Filoni has done the previous Star Wars shows. He's done the previous Star Wars cartoons, and you know what? They've been really good cartoons. I mean, they just have. So I don't know what happened with this one. I'm not sure. And hopefully, my fears and issues get quelched with future episodes, because that can happen with a show sometimes. It can start off a little bumpy, but it doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about Fuel for the Fire at this point. And I believe that show airs on Disney Channel on Sundays, so that's when it airs at this point. And I think it's staying there for the moment. I think it was originally supposed to be on Disney XD, but I'm guessing that changed. So that's all I have for sci-fi news for you for this episode. I hope you enjoyed and were all the cool stuff I brought to you. And have yourself a wonderful rest of the day. And we'll be sure to be back real soon with more sci-fi news.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sci-Fi Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.